Right now, as you're watching this video, there are 7.8 billion people on this planet. And here's what will shock you. 85% of them feel completely lost in life. They wake up every morning not knowing if they're in the right job, the right relationship, the right city, or even the right life. But what if I told you that 4,000 years ago, there was a moment when 100% of humanity was literally lost? Everything they knew had been destroyed. Every landmark, every city, every familiar place was gone. And yet, within one generation, every single family on Earth had found not just their place, but their purpose. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. I want you to comment below right now with just 3 words. I am ready. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just information, it's activation. And if you're not ready to change, this video will be just another thing you watch and forget. So pause for a moment. Comment, I am ready, and let's begin your transformation. Over the next minutes, I'm going to give you something that life coaches charge $5,000 for. I'm going to hand you the exact blueprint that the most successful families in history used to go from chaos to purpose, from confusion to clarity, from wandering to conquering. This isn't theory. This is the actual divine strategy used by every nation on earth to find their territory and build their legacy. Let me start with a story that will change how you see your current situation forever. There once was a man who felt completely lost. He had just watched his entire world be destroyed. Everything he had ever known was gone. His friends, his neighbors, his community, all gone. He was starting over with absolutely nothing except his family and a promise from God that was so vague it felt almost cruel. This man's name was Shem, and he was about to become the father of nations. But here's what's incredible. Shem didn't find his purpose by accident. He didn't stumble into his destiny. He followed a very specific map, a divine GPS system that's recorded in Genesis chapter 10. And today, you're going to learn how to use that same system. Now, before we dive in, let me tell you why this matters. Genesis 10 isn't just some ancient genealogy that seminary students study. It's called the Table of Nations by historians because it's the most accurate ethnographic document ever written. Archaeologists use it to this day to understand how civilizations were founded. But here's what they miss. It's not just history, it's strategy. It's the blueprint for how God organizes lives and destinies, and every principle in this chapter can be applied to your life right now. Let's start with the foundation. Genesis 10:1 says, "Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and sons were born to them after the flood." Stop right there. Notice the timing. After the flood. These men had just experienced the greatest catastrophe in human history, but instead of staying paralyzed by trauma, they immediately started building the future. Your breakthrough begins the moment you stop processing your past and start building your future. Here's what most people get wrong about feeling lost. They think they need to figure out why they're lost before they can find direction. But the sons of Noah didn't spend years in therapy processing the flood. They started having children and building nations. Let me give you a practical exercise right now. I want you to think about the last major disruption in your life. Maybe it was a divorce, a job loss, a health scare, or a global pandemic. How much time have you spent analyzing why it happened versus how much time you've spent building what comes next? Write this down. My breakthrough begins today. Because until you make that decision, you'll stay stuck in analysis paralysis. I've coached thousands of people who felt lost in life, and here's what I've discovered. The ones who find their purpose fastest are the ones who stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I build from here?" Now here's where it gets interesting. Look at verses 2-5. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. Wait, I know what you're thinking. This is just a boring list of names, but watch this. Every single name mentioned here became the father of a nation. Magog became the Scythians, Javan became the Greeks, Tubal became the Iberians. These weren't just people having babies. This was strategic nation building. God doesn't just give you children, He gives you legacies. But here's the key insight. None of these men knew they were founding nations when they started. They just knew they had a territory and a calling. The nation building happened because they were faithful in their territory. This brings us to what I call the territory principle. And this is worth writing down because it's going to change how you see your current situation. Verse 5 says, "From these the coastland peoples spread in their lands, each with his own language, by their clans in their nations." Notice three things. First, coastland peoples. They were given specific geographic territories. Second, their own language. They developed unique communication and culture. Third, by their clans. They built in community, not isolation. You can't find your purpose until you identify your territory. Your territory isn't just where you live. It's where you have influence. It's where you have access. It's where you have opportunity. Pause this video for 30 seconds and answer this question. What territories do you currently have access to? Your workplace, your neighborhood, your social media following, your family, your church, your gym? Most people feel lost because they're looking for some magical perfect territory while ignoring the territories they already have. Now let me show you something that will give you chills. Verses 8 to 10. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Here's what's mind-blowing. Nimrod came from the line of Ham, who had been cursed by Noah. By all human logic, Nimrod should have been destined for failure, but instead, he became the first mighty man on earth. Your family history is not your destiny. I don't care if you came from poverty. I don't care if your parents were addicts. I don't care if everyone in your family has failed. Nimrod came from a cursed lineage and still became mighty. Let me tell you about Sarah. She came to one of my coaching sessions 3 years ago completely broken. She was 35, divorced, living with her mother, working at a dead-end job. She said, "Pastor, I come from 5 generations of women who couldn't keep a man. My grandmother was abandoned, my mother was abandoned, my sister was abandoned. I'm destined to be alone." I showed her this exact passage about Nimrod. I said, "Sarah, Nimrod came from a cursed line and became the first mighty one on earth. Your family pattern ends with you. Today, Sarah owns 3 businesses, is happily married, and has 2 beautiful children. She broke the generational curse by refusing to accept her family history as her destiny. But here's the warning in Nimrod's story. Yes, he became mighty, but he also became rebellious. He built Babel, which became the symbol of human pride and rebellion against God. This teaches us something crucial. You can find your power without finding your purpose. You can become mighty without becoming righteous. You can build a kingdom without building character. Success without character is just delayed destruction. Nimrod had all the external markers of success, but he lacked internal alignment with God. And that's why his legacy is remembered more for rebellion than for righteousness. When you're building your territory, when you're developing your might, when you're growing your influence, never forget to keep your heart aligned with God's purposes. Now let's look at something beautiful. Verses 21 to 25 talk about Shem's descendants. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. And the sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Pay attention to this phrase. For in his days the earth was divided. This wasn't just a geographic division. This was a strategic distribution of territories and purposes. God doesn't just allow division, He orchestrates distribution. Sometimes what feels like division in your life is actually God distributing you to your destiny. That job you lost might have been God moving you toward your real calling. That relationship that ended might have been God redirecting you toward your true partner. That business that failed might have been God preparing you for the business that will succeed. What you interpret as rejection might be redirection. What you see as setback might be set up. Here's another powerful truth from verses 11 to 12. From that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Resen between Nineveh and Calah. That is the great city. Notice the progression. He went, he built, he created greatness. It wasn't one city. It was multiple cities. It wasn't just personal success. It was generational impact. This reveals the multiplication principle. When you find your territory and align with your purpose, you don't just build one thing. You build multiple things. You don't just impact your generation. You impact multiple generations. But here's what I want you to see. Each of these families had to make the same choice you're facing right now: stay in the boat or step into their territory. You see, after the flood, Noah's family could have just stayed on Mount Ararat. They could have said, "This is safe. We survived here. Let's just build a little community and never venture out again." But they didn't. They spread out. They took risks. They claimed territories. They built nations. Right now, you're at your Mount Ararat moment. You can stay where it's safe and familiar, or you can step into the territory God has prepared for you. You can keep processing your flood, or you can start building your future. Most people choose safety over purpose. Most people choose comfort over calling. Most people choose the known over the unknown. But the families in Genesis 10 chose differently, and that's why their names are still remembered 4,000 years later. Let me give you the 10 divine coordinates from this chapter that will help you find your territory and build your legacy. First coordinate: start building before you feel ready. The sons of Noah started having children and founding nations while the earth was still drying out from the flood. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created momentum in imperfect circumstances. Second coordinate: identify your unique strengths. Each family developed specific abilities. Some became seafaring peoples, others became city builders, others became warriors. What are you naturally good at that others struggle with? Third coordinate: claim your territory with confidence. These families didn't ask permission to settle in their lands. They surveyed the territory, recognized the opportunity, and claimed it. Where has God given you access that you haven't fully claimed? Fourth coordinate: develop your own language and culture. Each nation developed its own language and customs. You need to develop your own voice, your own style, your own way of doing things. Stop trying to copy others and start creating your own approach. Fifth coordinate: build in community, not isolation. Every territory was settled by clans and families, not individuals. Who are the people God has connected to your vision? Who are your tribe members? Sixth coordinate: think generationally, not just personally. These weren't just building for themselves, they were building for their children and grandchildren. Every decision you make should consider how it will impact the next generation. Seventh coordinate: maintain alignment with God while building your might. The warning from Nimrod's story is clear. Success without spiritual alignment leads to rebellion and destruction. As you build, stay connected to your Creator. Eighth coordinate: embrace strategic distribution. When God divides or redirects your path, don't resist it. Trust that He's distributing you to your destiny, not punishing you with division. Ninth coordinate: Multiply your impact through multiple territories. Don't be satisfied with one success. Like the families who built multiple cities, think about how you can expand your influence across multiple areas. 10th coordinate, leave. A legacy that outlasts your lifetime. Every name in this chapter represents someone whose impact continued long after they died. What legacy are you building that will still matter in 100 years? Now let me tell you what happens when you apply these coordinates. 3 months ago, I got a message from Marcus, a man who had watched this teaching and applied these principles. He said, "Pastor, 6 months ago I was working in a cubicle feeling completely lost. I had no idea what my purpose was or where I belonged. But when you taught about territories, I realized I had access to something I hadn't been claiming. I had been building software as a hobby for years, but I never thought of it as my territory. I started treating my programming skills like Nimrod treated his hunting. I became mighty in my craft. I identified the territory where I had access, small businesses that needed custom software. I developed my own language and approach. I built a community of other developers. Today, I have 15 employees. We've built software for over 200 businesses, and I'm teaching other programmers how to build their own territories. But the most important thing is, I know exactly where I belong and what I'm supposed to be doing." That's the power of understanding your divine coordinates. That's what happens when you stop wandering and start conquering. But let me be honest with you, this isn't just about personal success. This is about something much bigger. Look at the end of Genesis 10, verse 32. "These are the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies, in their nations. And from these the nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. From these families came every nation on earth. Every culture, every language, every civilization can be traced back to the people mentioned in this chapter." That means your destiny isn't just about you. When you find your territory and build your legacy, you're not just changing your life. You're potentially changing the world for generations to come. One of your descendants might cure cancer. One of your descendants might become a world leader. One of your descendants might start a revival that changes millions of lives. But that potential is locked up until you stop feeling lost and start claiming your territory. The families in Genesis 10 didn't know they were founding civilizations. They just knew they had a calling and they were faithful to it. They didn't know their children would become nations. They just focused on being fruitful in their territory. You don't need to see the full picture. You just need to take the next step. You don't need to understand the complete plan. You just need to claim the territory in front of you. Here's what I want you to do right now. Before you close this video, before you move on to the next thing on your phone, I want you to make 3 decisions. Decision number 1, I will stop analyzing my past and start building my future. Write down today's date and next to it write, "My breakthrough begins today." Decision number 2, I will identify and claim the territories where I currently have access. List every area where you have influence, access, or opportunity. Your job, your family, your neighborhood, your social media, your hobbies, your skills. Decision number 3, I will think generationally about the legacy I'm building. Ask yourself, what am I building today that will still matter in 100 years? What legacy am I creating for my children and grandchildren? But I want to give you one more gift before we end. I want to pray over your territory and your destiny. Father, I thank you for every person watching this video. I thank you that just like the families in Genesis 10, you have a specific territory and purpose for each of them. I pray that you would open their eyes to see the territories where they already have access. I pray that you would give them the courage to claim what you've already given them. Give them the faith to start building even when they can't see the complete blueprint. Give them the wisdom to maintain alignment with you as they develop their might. Lord, I pray that you would break every generational curse that has kept their families stuck in cycles of defeat. Let them be like Nimrod, who broke free from a cursed lineage to become mighty. But let them be wiser than Nimrod, maintaining humility and alignment with your purposes. I pray that the territories they build today would become nations that bless the world tomorrow. I pray that their children and grandchildren would rise up and call them blessed because of the foundation they laid. In Jesus' name, I declare that their days of feeling lost are over. Their days of wandering without purpose have ended. From this day forward, they walk in divine direction toward their promised territory. Amen. If this message has transformed your perspective, if you feel like God has given you clear direction through this teaching, then you need to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We're going to continue revealing the biblical blueprints for success, purpose, and generational impact. You don't want to miss a single revelation. Second, share this video with someone who's feeling lost in life, someone you know is wandering without direction, someone who needs to understand that their feeling lost is temporary, but their destiny is eternal. You might be the person God uses to help them find their territory. You might be the link between them and their breakthrough. Remember, you are not lost. You are in transition. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are being guided to your territory. You are not without purpose. You are about to discover your divine coordinates. Your territory is waiting. Your legacy is calling. Your destiny is closer than you think. Until next time, stop wandering and start conquering. Stop feeling lost and start claiming your territory. Your place in God's plan is not negotiable. It's time to take it.